I'm Kristen Jensen, and I am the founder of Protect Young Minds and author of Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior. And today I have the pleasure of being here with Ron DeHaas. He is the president and co-founder of Covenant Eyes. And I just wanted to share a little bit of background about Ron. He's got a bachelor's of science and a master's of science in geology from Ohio State University, and he attended University of Michigan as a PhD student. Ron pioneered the concept of accountability software, and he founded Covenant Eyes in the spring of 2000. Today, over 250,000 subscribers enjoy the internet accountability that Covenant Eyes provides. And he's located, and his company is located in Michigan, and they've just won a new award. I think they won many awards there in Michigan, but they've just won the Michigan Economic Bright Spots Award. And so congratulations, Ron, on that and your great success with a product that a lot of families need.
Thank you, Kristen. It's really a pleasure to be here today to talk to you. This is a serious subject, and so I'm really happy to join you. So thank you.
Great. Well, it's people like you and many others that are helping to push back on the pornography industry and the hold that it has on so many lives. So now this is what I want to know. You went into geology and you were digging in the dirt, and now you're trying to keep people from the dirt, I guess. I don't know.
I've never heard it put that way, but
well, it just came to me. I don't know. So how is it that you went from geology to internet accountability software?
Well, I think once a geologist, always a geologist. I always, even here in my office, I have my token trilobite here.
Oh, there you go.
I'm surrounded by rocks, actually. But in the year 2000, well, let me back up because the story starts really back when I was a geologist. I met a woman who led me to the Lord, and she was working in the oil field where I was working, actually. She was an engineer. And after 10 years of marriage, we had a wonderful family. I had a daughter, 7 years old, and a son, 4 years old, Ann and Stephen, and my wife, Pat. And in 1991, after 10 years of marriage, she and my two children were all killed in a car accident on Interstate 94 here in Michigan. That was really a tragic time. It was really an amazing time. The Lord brought himself closer to me during that time than he ever had been before or since, really. But nevertheless, of course, it was quite a tragedy.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to, within a fairly short time, gain yet another wonderful family. I married a woman who already had 3 children, and we had another child too. But by the year 2000, I was already pretty much retired from the oil industry. By the year 2000, I had 2 teenage sons at home. And I also had the internet on my computer for the first time in January of 2000. Mm-hmm. And I realized, my goodness, there's stuff on this thing that are not appropriate for children. And so I wanted something. I looked around and I saw that there were lots of filters out there that would block where people would go, specifically trying to block pornography. What I found, though, was that those programs were very easy to circumvent, and they kind of didn't do what I wanted to accomplish in raising my family. I wanted to train my kids myself. I didn't want a machine to just legalistically block access where they were going. And so filters weren't really what I wanted, because if they were really going to go somewhere that was inappropriate, I wouldn't know about it. And I want to know about it. And so in the year 2000, fortunately, I had access to some people who enabled me to get a software program that would provide accountability. And accountability simply means it's like someone looking over your shoulder that provides that a report, and that's what we do. We provide a report of the internet use. That's how I got started with Covenant Eyes.
So it was really to help your own family.
Absolutely.
And I think I've heard you speak of that a filter is like a fence that any kid wants to jump over.
Mm-hmm.
And you really wanted to train your children to use the internet wisely with accountability software. So why did you name your company Covenant Eyes?
Oh, well, that came right away. Job 31:1 in the Old Testament says that I will make a covenant with my eyes not to lust after a woman. And that's exactly what I wanted to train my two teenage boys, was that this stuff that's on the internet, that's available on the internet, is like poison. And you know, when I was a kid, Kristen, I was taught that heroin was something that you don't go near. You don't touch that stuff. And that was so ingrained in me that, you know, if it was in the same neighborhood, I didn't want to be in the same neighborhood with it. And that's what I wanted to teach my kids, that this stuff is bad. It's like poison. You need to stay away from it. And so that idea of I will not, I'm making a covenant with my eyes, not to lust after a woman. And that's why we named it Covenant Eyes.
Awesome. Yeah, great name. Great name.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when people make a covenant with themselves or with another person, like with accountability, right, then
Mm-hmm.
you think twice, you know, and you have someone there to support you. So that's great. So you talked a little bit about the accountability and what it is, but could you maybe clarify the difference between filters and accountability software? And does Covenant Eyes provide both?
Yes, we do provide both. A quick answer to that one. We certainly do provide both. And I think for young children particularly, you don't even want them to be briefly exposed to pornography. And so filtering does have a place. I think filtering also has a place for addicts who really can't afford to even see anything even briefly. But I have a diagram that I use. I just have it taped to a piece of paper here. And this diagram talks about the fact that there are, in parenting, we have really, there are a number of ways of parenting, of course, but three of the elements of parenting are, first of all, control, especially at a young age. We want to control our children's, what they do. And as they grow older, we develop trust, and that trust is this side of this diagram. But through it all, as parents, one of the best parenting techniques is this idea of scrutiny, of being able to scrutinize what your children are doing, not just on the internet, of course, but just in everything that they're doing. And so this combination of trust and control, along with scrutiny, filtering, and this answers your question then. Filtering doesn't provide any scrutiny whatsoever. Filtering just simply blocks access to whatever it blocks, without the parents knowing about it, without anybody knowing about it. So if I have a filter on my computer, then nobody knows. If I go to somewhere inappropriate, and believe me, filters are easy to circumvent. They're quite simple to circumvent. And when it is circumvented, nobody knows where you went. And so there's no level of scrutiny whatsoever. And so my idea with accountability was to provide that level of scrutiny. And over the years, we've tried to make the reports easier and easier and easier to use, so that at a glance, you can tell whether your child or whoever you're holding accountable is has something to be concerned about in what they have viewed on the internet. That's the level of scrutiny that I believe is necessary for good parenting. Of
Okay,
course,
so
good parenting does depend on other things as well. You have to, in order to be a good parent, you also have to talk to them about pornography. It's one thing I love about I've got your book here too, this Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. I use this all the time. It's a great book because it allows you to talk to your kids about pornography. And you don't just say, don't look at bad pictures. You say, don't look at pornography. You have to name it. Name it pornography. That's such an important thing that, the average age of exposure is 11 years old for kids. And so name it.
I always, when I speak, I get everyone in the audience to say the word pornography with me. And I say, we've got to take control over this word. We can't be afraid of it, ashamed of it, dance around it. We just have to take it and say pornography. And if we say it without shame, then it becomes just another word, along with other words that we teach our children.
That's
so
right.
we have to master the word.
Yes, that's right. And that really is part of good parenting. Another aspect about filtering, you were asking about the difference between filtering and accountability. Another aspect of filtering, it's interesting. We commissioned the Barna Group, Josh McDowell and I commissioned the Barna Group to do a study, and it was called The Porn Phenomenon by the Barna Group. This book is available. It was published last year in 2016, and it is just full of statistics, page after page of statistics. And part of the effort that they made was we found 517 users with Covenant Eyes who were willing to take the survey, who have used Covenant Eyes for more than 5 years. And so these are accountable families like me who have been accountable for quite some time. And the differences between the general population and the Covenant Eyes accountable families was like night and day. It was absolutely incredible. Two sides of a coin, it was just amazing, the differences. Something that they found out, that Barna found out from the general population, and this I found fascinating, that the general population, about a quarter of the general population, the general population adults, roughly 30% of the general population adults, said they seek out pornography at least once a month. What was interesting was they also had a cohort that they analyzed of the adults who have a filter on their computer. And guess what? The people with a filter on their computer actually sought out pornography almost twice as often as those who didn't have a filter on their computer. And so filtering, filtering, like I said, it works in some circumstances. It works for young children. You don't want them to see bad pictures. You don't want them to see pornography. But for adults and people who are older teens, I tell people, if you have trained your children right, by the time they're 14 or 15, you can take them off the filter, unless they're addicted to pornography, which some teenagers are, certainly. And just have accountability. Accountability works. It really does. And what we have found is that accountable families who take the spiritual formation of their families seriously are truly successful in passing on their values from one generation to the next.
That's awesome. Well, it's great to have a tool to be able to do this and to train your children as they grow, because you can't just, like you said, you can't just expect to filter and then and shield them and then someday just say, okay, well, here you go, we're going to launch you into the world, and you haven't taught them how to deal with the world that they actually live in, which is a wonderful world.
Yes.
It's a wonderful world, but it also has a dark side, and they need help and mentoring and coaching from their parents about how to do this. And so thank you. Well, now, Ron, are there any new technologies or coming down the pike that's going to make Covenant Eyes even better than it is today? Are there any new exciting things that we can look for that's recently been added?
Oh my, yeah. The answer is yes. We have some exciting things coming. Ever since we started, it's always been a struggle to keep up with technology. It's hard. we have one team devoted to mobile devices, which include the iPhone and Android phones. Then we have another team that's devoted to the Mac computer. We have another team that's devoted to Windows computers. And so each team has to keep up with whatever the latest version is. And then there are all these other programs that come in onto your computer, and then, there are conflicts between computer programs and so on. And so the technology has just been very difficult to keep up with. In addition to that, the pornographers have found ways of getting around whatever means you can have to monitor where you're going. Pornographers are out to get you. They're out to get your children. They are predatory, and they will lure children in amazing ways. And so in order to try to keep up with that, that's just been a very difficult thing. And so one of the latest innovations we have, and this is something that I started a couple of years ago, was to begin the process of analyzing the image on the screen for pornography. Mm-hmm. There have been a number of programs that have tried to do this by, for instance, looking at the percentage of flesh tone on an image and trying to make sense of whether or not that's pornography. Those programs have not been very successful. They really have not proven to be very good. What we've done instead is, because of the latest technology of artificial intelligence, there are cars out there now on the road that are driving themselves. And so it
kind of freaks me out, but I've heard about them.
It freaks me out. And to be honest, I just bought a car for my daughter, and I was looking at used cars, and I thought, knowing what I know about artificial intelligence now, I ended up buying her a brand new car, because it has some artificial intelligence where it will actually stop. It'll recognize a crash situation and actually stop the car. It's pretty amazing. I
rented a car recently, and it had some of that technology in it. Yeah. And it was like when I went over like the lane, yeah. it like, you've gone over the lane, or it would tell me things, or when I was getting too close, mm-hmm. It would, not that I'm a bad driver, but I did learn to drive in Boston. So I don't know, that might say something.
The roundabouts in Boston are famous. So that's
yeah. So anyway, so you got her this new car, and so artificial intelligence. Yeah.
So I recognize that this technology is at least interesting. And so I started investigating it, and we hired a fellow who actually has a PhD in math, and he has been specializing in artificial intelligence now for quite some time. And because of the latest technology, what he did, we acquired a data set that included 1 million pictures that were known to be pornography, and 1 million pictures that were known not to be pornography. And we selected, at random, 200,000 pictures from each of those two groups, fed them into this program, and the program on its own learned the difference. And so this is true artificial intelligence, where a computer program learns the difference. And then in addition to that, we have trained it further with the remaining sets of data. We keep on improving the accuracy of this program. Now, this program, let me tell you about this program that we have. It recognizes pornography, and it won't even tell you what it's looking at. You can't even really tell what it's looking at to tell that this image is pornography. It just knows pornography, sort of like the human brain. In fact, the process is even called a convolutional neural network, just like the brain. The program that we have is 99.8% accurate in identifying pornography. It is so fast that it analyzes images faster than they come into your computer on a video. And so it does streaming video. It's a small enough program. This is the amazing thing to me. It's a small enough program that it fits easily on an Android phone without serious battery consequences. And what we're doing is we are actually looking at what's on the screen, not the source code behind that image, not anything else about the image. We're looking at the screen. And so it doesn't even have to come from the internet. If you take a picture with your phone and that appears on the screen and it's sexting, which teenagers are wont to do, it will block that.
Yeah.
And so we are in the process. We already have blocking for Android and Windows. We're working on the Mac right now. The iPhone will come last. But we are also incorporating that into our accountability program so that hopefully by the end of this year, we're going to have that in our accountability program along with a fantastic filter. At last, a filter that it is very difficult to circumvent, and it looks at everything.
Yeah,
So,
a smart filter.
A smart filter, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
That is exciting.
It's
exciting.
exciting.
I've when you go to look at images on like a Google search, you can put in the most innocent search term.
Yes.
And if you scroll down long enough, you will find, it just seems like you will find pornography. Even if you're on Safe Search, my daughter, who's a teacher, she is always looking for images, for her PowerPoints and the things that she does, and for her kids doing reports. And kids in schools look for images to do their reports, and they're always coming across problematic images. So this technology just sounds awesome. I hope that schools will get it.
It's amazing. It is amazing.
It will be amazing. So thank you, Ron, for being yet another pioneer in technology to help families stay safe. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So you've got some filtering, you've got these great new technologies, you've got accountability software. So what else does Covenant Eyes do to help families, to help protect them and help them raise, a generation of porn-proof kids, as we like to say?
Well, Kristen, like you, this is our passion. We have a mission that we really want to see culture changed so that people do recognize this is as dangerous, in fact, I think more dangerous than heroin. It destroys families. It destroys relationships of every kind. And so besides providing the accountability and filtering software that we do, which we do charge for, that supports the other efforts that we do. And we provide a ton of resources that are all free of cost. We have ebooks on just about every topic related to pornography and sex trafficking that you can imagine. Those ebooks are all free. We have a great blog. Every Wednesday at 12:35, we have a Facebook Live presentation where we interview someone like you who has resources. We want to provide resources and information. And so we provide information and resources and information and resources. Absolutely free. You can go to covenanteyes.com and there's a blog link right at the top. And there you can go to covenanteyes.com/ebooks and that'll take you to a listing of all the ebooks we have. We just have great resources.
You do, you really do, and it's been great. I know we've written a few blog posts for you, and really appreciate that opportunity. So, Ron, just a final question. I've met you at a couple of summits that we've both been at, and you have hosted many of them and sponsored many of them. So what's Covenant Eye's role in kind of pushing back against the pornography industry, and what can parents do to get involved in this fight?
Oh, parents, to begin with, education is important. You need to become educated on this subject. And furthermore, become active. One of the things that we have found, and this kind of, I guess, bridges your previous question to this question, one of the things that we found at Covenant Eyes is that accountability works best when it is between people who love each other and care about each other. But for those who are addicted or are struggling with pornography, which is a huge proportion of our society, those who are addicted or struggling and have been successful at coming out of that, every story I hear about that, the person, whether it be a man or woman, always says there were some people involved in helping me get out of that. There was a community around me that helped me get out of that. Number one, the parents who are wondering what they can do, probably a lot of them have struggled with this themselves. And they need to turn to somebody and develop that community. We are looking for champions of communities, whether it be in a church or a synagogue or whatever faith or whatever organization you're in. We're looking for champions who would be willing to step out and say, this is a problem and we need to deal with it in this organization. And be willing to work at that. That's one of the other resources that Covenant Eyes provides, is resources for communities. We have like a Porn 101 course and then advanced courses for all different aspects of training in pornography and sex trafficking. We try to make it easy for that champion of the group, of the community, to be that champion. But we can't do it without the champion. And so what can parents do? Become a champion in your own organization, in your own church. That is certainly something. And so that's an important thing. We here at Covenant Eyes are quite involved in, as you said, a number of conferences that we have sponsored. And in addition to that, I work very closely. I'm on the board of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, which is a wonderful organization that is working with Washington, D.C. to get legislation out there that recognizes that pornography and sex trafficking are a national health crisis, because they really are a national health crisis. And so I'm always a strong supporter of, I call it NACOSI, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. I would encourage people to donate. We are looking for even some major donors right now to help out that organization. And so maybe someone in your listening audience might know something like that. So
that's awesome. Well, you know, people wonder what they can do, and certainly there are lots of opportunities at within Covenant Eyes to, like you said, become champions. We also have an ambassador program at Protect Young Minds, where we are just starting to get people to come and help us just do small things. Not everybody has the time to do huge things, but if we all do small things, then it has a big effect.
It really does.
Well, Ron, thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to just mention, you showed our first book, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and of course we've got Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior. And the one thing that we've done with this book, when I started out it was all about addiction, and that's still a huge problem. But now we're finding out that children are watching pornography and then imitating what they see, which is natural for children, and then they are going on to there's child-on-child sexual, behavior happening, and it is just skyrocketing. And so, and also children taking pictures of each other and posting them on the internet. And this has become a huge concern. And then children also being extorted to provide more pictures. We call that sextortion. So in this book, we start very young to teach children about good pictures, bad pictures, but also the foundation of teaching them not to get into sexting starts at a young age. And so that's what we've done with this book. And we're hoping to continue to provide resources like that. And thank you so much for promoting them and helping others find our resources as well. Thank you so much, Ron. I so appreciate your passion and so appreciate all that you're doing to make the world a better place.
I appreciate your work too. And just to emphasize to parents, use these books and talk to your children about it. Like I said, parents are not typically very proactive, and they wait until there's a problem. And we have so many users of Covenant Eyes who come to us and they say, "Oh, I wish I had done this years ago." Well, now's the time to start. It's not. Now's the time to start when they're young. Talk to them. Use these books. They're perfect.
Great. Yeah, be proactive. I think that's human nature. Most of us are so busy until there's a problem. We're not going to, prevention's a hard sell sometimes, but it really is worth the pound of cure, and so much easier to prevent a problem than to try to turn it around once it's become a problem. So, well, thank you so much, Ron. I so appreciate your work. I so appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with me today. And I look forward to seeing you and working with you.
The next time is, yes.
Yeah. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Good to see you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.